Hi there, and welcome to today's episode of How the Game Was Won. Today we're looking at a specific game between Svane and Svidler played at the European Club Cup 2015. And without further ado, let's get into how the game played itself out. We had knight f3, c5, c4, knight f6, Nc3 Nc6, g3, d5, d4, e6, c takes d5, knight takes d5, bishop g2, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes in c3, bishop takes in c3, knight takes in d4, queen takes in d4, queen takes in d4, c takes in d4, bishop d6. And in this semi-tarish, we've only 11 moves into the game. We haven't even had a castling happening yet. But if you look at the number of pieces left on the board, we're effectively just about down into a long and protracted twin bishops, twin rooks, and pawn endgame. Continuing, castle short side, rook b8, e4, b6. Bishop b2, f6, rook a to c1, bishop b7, f4, and white has played this opening in a super fine fashion, and he's got at least a small edge heading into the super early endgame. King d7, e5, bishop b7, rook f to d1, bishop takes in g2, king takes in g2, rook h to c8, d5, rook c1, d takes in e6 with check, king takes in e6, rook takes in c1, bishop c5, e takes in f6. As an alternative, for instance, Svane could have played here rook d1 with rook c8, but instead he played e takes in f6, which allowed g takes in f6, and rook e1 check. Instead of playing rook e1 check, for instance, rook d1 would have been able to prevent black's rook from getting itself activated onto the open file. But rook e1 check, king f7, king f3, rook comes across to d8, which activates black's rook onto the open file, and rook e2, a5, king e4. a4, instead of a4, white could have played g4, which would have then prevented the black from being able to push f5 at a later stage. But with bishop c3, we've got rook e7 check, king d3, rook takes in e2, king takes in e2. Now we've got the rooks off the board, and it's a straight bishop and pawn endgame. As you can see, white has a pawn advantage on the king side, black has a pawn advantage on the queen side. So it's a case of white's objective will be to convert his king side pawn advantage into a pass pawn and prevent black from doing likewise on the queen side. f5, king d3, b5. Bishop d4, bishop e7, bishop e5, king e6, king d4, h5, bishop h8, bishop a3, bishop e5, and here bishop f8. For instance, instead of playing bishop f8, Svidler could have had at his disposal was to play h4 straight away with g takes h4, bishop b2, king c5, bishop e takes in e5, f takes in e5, and king takes in e5, with a clear advantage to black, with a pass pawn sitting not only here on a pass pawn sitting on f5 and a 2 versus 1 situation sitting on the queen side. But instead, after bishop f8, we had bishop h8, bishop e7, bishop g7, bishop a3, bishop e5, bishop e4, bishop g7, bishop d6, bishop h8, h4, g takes in h4. Instead of g takes in h4, Svane could have, for instance, played bishop e5 with bishop takes in e5, f takes in e5, b4, king c4, h takes in g3, h takes in g3, b3, a takes in b3, a takes in b3, king takes in b3, king takes in e5, king c4, and king e4. You still got an advantage to black in this situation because it's a case of black will be able to come in and potentially grab the pawn, but at the same time it will take black 2 moves to get at the pawn, whereas it will take the white king an equal number of 2 moves to get into a position where the get at the black pawn, but then after white's two moves there, then the king will be able to come up, or the pawn will be able to come down, and black will be able to shepherd the pawn all the way through to the queening square, and thereby win the game. But getting back to the game at hand, we had g takes on h4 played, bishop takes on f4, h5, bishop d6, h6, king f7, king d5, bishop f8, king c6, b4, king b5, a3, king c4, king g6, bishop g7, bishop e7, h4, f4, h5 with check, king h7, king d3, bishop g5, king c4, bishop takes h6, bishop d4, bishop f8, bishop e5, f3, bishop d4, king h6, king d3, king h5, king e4, bishop g7. Now, up until here you can say that all of white's mistakes have been quite imperceptible, but when you mount the one tiny mistake onto another tiny mistake, eventually it all leads up to a critical mass where the whole position comes tumbling down. And the big difference here is that Svidler played through the entire game with a clear plan, and thanks to his better understanding of the in-game positions that we eventually got to, that's effectively why Svidler won the game, because he had a better understanding of the in-game positions, while Svane maybe did not. So in this position, white resigned because there's effectively nothing black can effectively do, or white can effectively do, to prevent either the queen side pawn majority turning into a passing queen pawn, and you've got this pawn on this side, because effectively what we have here is should white take the pawn, then it's just simply the bishop gets picked up. Should, for instance, white take the hanging black bishop, then the pawn pushes, and there's nothing that white can do to prevent the pawn from queening. So with that total, complete, and catch-22 situation, Svane resigned, Svidler won, and that is how the game was won. Now, as far as this video is concerned, please feel free to share this video out amongst all of your friends. Don't forget to click the thumbs up button if you like this type of content, thumbs down if not, that way you help me to produce better video content for you in the future. Also, don't forget to click or post any comments, questions or criticisms that you have in the comment section down below the video. And last but by no means least, down below the video screen in YouTube is a big red subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button, that way you stay subscribed to my channel for all the new content that comes out on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis. Until we meet next time for another episode of How the Game Was Won, stay carved up for the win out there, and I'll see you then. Cheers.